Well, it's certainly not every day you can say you had an article published in Forbes. It's not any day of my life, I can say it, because it's never happened me, but it has just happened. The person who's about to join me on the line now, and that's Liam Dunne. He's the co-founder and CEO of Waterford company Klearcom. And indeed, he does have a very interesting article all about AI, by the way, up on Forbes, one of the most globally renowned publications, I'm going to say, of all time, just to be really dramatic.
Jesus, the pressure now.
Hi, Liam. No pressure. How are you doing?
Good, all good. Thanks for having us on.
No bother. And
Just to say though, I suppose I'm just like a figurehead. It's the company, it's the collective, it's all the different teams together working together to develop this software that we have that has resulted in us getting an article on Forbes.
Oh.
It isn't just Liam Dunne. It's a lot of people doing a lot of work all over the world, and I suppose the result is, I suppose, like you, Mary, I would have never expected that Liam Dunne would have an article on Forbes Technology Council, but we do, and it's genuinely testament to, all the lads in our office in Arc Labs and all over the world, in India and New York and Romania and stuff. So, no, hats off to everybody.
Brilliant. And we will get into, I suppose, the detail of that piece. And to be fair to you, Liam, I spotted this on your own LinkedIn, and you did actually give credit to all the people who were behind putting that.
There you go. They killed Mary. I won't be able to go back into our clubs.
So you were, no, we certainly can't have. You'd have to see, would Forbes take you on full time as a columnist? That would be your new.
There you go.
Yes. So anyway, listen, congratulations to you and the team. But I want to rewind the clock a little bit, because you're in a very much, I suppose, a tech space. But for people not familiar, the most, I suppose, obvious question I'm going to ask for people who haven't come across Klearcom before, what do you guys do?
I don't want to switch everybody off, but basically we've an app essentially that tests and makes sure voice bots or this AI in call center works globally for multinationals. So if you're a large multinational company, you could have, 200 call centers all across the world. You could have millions of calls coming into the call center every week. Nowadays, a lot of those calls and the first line aren't being answered by humans. They're being answered by conversational AI. And we've built an app that basically tests and validates that works, right? And if there's any issues, we let them know in real time, because we can provide this service. We're currently in 110, I think it is. Mark Rowan, co-founder, Tremor chap, he's responsible for our global rollout. He'll kill me if I have this wrong. I think it's definitely 100 countries. Basically, our customers create persona. So like, say you've got customers in France, you can create a French-speaking persona and with our platform, and test and validate that a male French person that speaks really fast with a low tone, when they ring into your call center, the AI is able to understand this. What is called is intent,
Okay.
and these terms, Mary, they're kind of, there's been so much talk of AI, and some people are getting even frightened at the concept. And honestly, there's no need, because like when you take AI is just, it's just like a super powered assistant. It just helps us do things faster and smarter and more efficiently. If you take your calculator, okay, you don't do the big sums in your heads anymore. You use a calculator. So it speeds up the process. You write something. You don't check all the spellings yourself. You'll use spell checker in Word. So that saves you time. And you take accountancy, you could have all your accounts written into ledger books, but instead you use Excel. And what AI is just the next step in that. It's not about replacing us, it's about freeing us up to do more valuable work. And it's genuinely nothing to be afraid of. And if I put it in this way, because my kids often ask me what I do, and I have to, I've got 4 intelligent young lads that like to challenge me in a lot of stuff, and I have to be able to explain it in a way that they go, "I get it, Dad," or they hit me with more questions. So
I'd like to pull you up on back, Dad. You're raw.
Yeah, and they're very good at that. And they use their own AI tools to do that. But like, if you take our grandparents, right, there was a shift in manual labor to machines. No, a machine can do a lot things faster and more productive for businesses. Our parents really saw the advent of computers. So instead of filing systems and so on, everything was stored in computers. That sped that up. Now we're in the AI revolution, and we're probably the last generation that will have worked without AI as a full-time colleague. It's going to move that fast over the next 5-10 years, but it's all about efficiency so that you can do the things that add more value and ultimately have greater, stronger economies. And there's nothing to worry about when it comes to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're in a particular space that we're going to talk about in a minute. You've already alluded to it there, the kind of conversational AI and that. But I mean, I remember before actually when I was in college a few years ago, learning and being absolutely well in college the second time, Lee, not my undergrad, which is like
I thought you were the same vintage as me.
I am. The first time in college, nobody was talking about AI. The second time, which was like in 2020, people were, and they were talking about how it's used in healthcare. And I remember kind of learning about that and then kind of thinking, okay, we need to start thinking about this as a really advantageous tool. And I know healthcare is only one space, but the way processes can be sped up. And like you said, it's freeing up human beings to do more valuable work. So I think it's a really good way of looking at it. So I suppose that leads me on.
Give me one. Sorry, you're used to me now. Give you one practical example in my industry. When you ring into a call center, say you want to do a balance inquiry on your banking. You, as an end consumer, don't want to sit there waiting, listen to hold music until a human becomes available to log in and check what your balance is and tell you that, right? So there's a waste for you as a consumer, and there's a waste for the company that's got the cost of servicing that. Far better ways, take those simple tasks like a balance inquiry and put conversation AI, voice bots in front of it. So Mary is never waiting, so Mary doesn't have to get annoyed. So there's no that wait music because AI is exponentially scalable. It doesn't matter how many calls coming in, it can handle that volume of calls. So you're happy, and then it's more cost effective for those low value calls than a human is. So everybody wins, and it's about finding out how both sides can win in this. That's the main thing.
Okay. And just before we do get to some of the points you made about the customer experience in this Forbes article, and this is possibly me being like really behind the curve on all of this, because I would have experienced AI giving me a bank balance and I kind of know that's AI or whatever. But will AI talk back and forth to somebody now on a call?
Yeah, and look, that's where we're going to get to, right? So if you take it as stages of where technology is at, we're really only at the conversational AI piece right now. So again, that call comes into a call center and it can handle a certain type of calls based on a certain type of input. So it's simple, it's basic. Okay. Now, the part you're talking about is generative AI, and everybody's heard of Chat GPT.
Yeah.
It's bloody famous. Everybody's talking about it every day, and there's versions coming out of China now, and there's loads of competition in that space hotting up. But what Chat GPT is essentially, it's generative AI. And if you were to understand the simple kind of difference is that your conversational AI right now is kind of more rules based, right?
Okay.
But generative AI can start to think by itself, and it can answer itself, and it doesn't need that same type of input. It's more creative, essentially, is what it is.
In both the written or the spoken words, do you mean?
Yeah. Well, in terms of everything, that you just give it a task. Like the actual technical term is a generative pre-trained transformer, right? We won't go into what that is, but basically, it's the technology that underpins learning. So if we think about us as when we were kids a couple of years ago, when you learn to walk, you don't just learn to walk and you've kind of got that stumble stage and you're go, grand, I know how to walk now and that's it. I'm going to stumble again, things for the rest of my life. You're going to constantly improve and perfect. And ultimately, you could end up being an Olympic sprinter. We've got that human characteristics of being able to constantly learn and evolve. And what that technology, that GPT element does is it ensures that it can constantly improve. But we already have this technology in use today. Like if your Netflix will recommend based on what you've looked at, Mary. So if you look at horrors, a lot is going to recommend more horror.
The algorithm.
Your Google, the algorithm,
Yeah.
exactly, and your Google Maps, it knows all the roads in Ireland. So if there's a crash in real time, it'll show you in red and it'll tell you to divert around. So a lot of this technology is already in use. It's just what's happened is the bandwagon and I suppose the PR marketing machine has jumped on it. And I suppose, they really are pushing it because of the benefits that will eventually come there as it's used in a much wider way. But we're only at really a conversational AI, say, space is what I'd say right now, certainly in our industry. So like those simple tasks, but it's learning fast, it's moving fast. And as the cost that you see headlines there as well about the cost to train these models, as the cost of that comes down and energy costs come down, it will make sure that it's much more prevalent. Like it's not going anywhere. It's like, you dig a hole with that by hand with a shovel, or you can dig a hole with a digger. You're going to pick a digger every time.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. We're just learning, and we're lucky that we get to see this kind of industrial revolution. I really think it's an exciting time for us, considering what our grandparents, our parents now us get to see. It's cool in a way.
Brilliant. I thought we'd get a chance to go through the whole article, but people are just going to have to go and read it. We do have a few minutes, though. The headline in this Liam Dunne Forbes Technology Council piece is written by the whole team, not just Liam. He has been keen to point out how testing conversational AI mitigates CX or customer experience risks and drives return of investment. So what you're saying here really is that if I suppose companies that rely on the likes of conversational AI don't test it and make sure that it's, I suppose, fit for purpose, then they're going to lose out because the customer won't have a good experience.
Big time. Simple as that. It's like, I suppose, the feedback loop can be broken as well. If I've had a bad experience, Marion, and I eventually get through to you as human agent, you will be able to understand quite quickly if I'm ratty and frustrated. And I can explain that to you clearly that I've had a bad experience. That in its current form is hard for intent to understand. So you have to continuously train. And like mentioned earlier, it's not just about now, it's about how good this is going to get over the coming years. And eventually you want the scenario where it's hard to discern, am I human or am I generative or conversational AI? And it's about bridging that gap. Ultimately, it's about the best experience possible for the consumers of whatever company that they're choosing to consume from. It's about making that as frictionless and seamless as possible, about as real time as possible, so you don't have to wait. Like eventually, when you look down the rabbit hole, Mary, where all of this is probably going to go is that you'll have your personal AI, and your personal AI will go off and have its conversation separately with 5 insurance companies to get you the best quote, and you won't have to do anything. It'll just come back and go, well, I recommend A, B, and C, and these are the reasons why. And it's not going to be just confined to the business world. It's going to impact in a positive way all of our own personal worlds and lives, because those mundane tasks that we don't want to do, they can take care of it, so we can spend more time being creative and adding value where we want to. And that's probably what the article sums up in a way. To get to there, you have to train, you have to continuously monitor, you've got a benchmark of where your service is so you can improve it. It's always about improving. Everything in not just business, but in life is about improving, getting better, moving on. And that's all really that the article gets to in a nutshell.
Very quickly before I can let you go, I know you spoke about Klearcom briefly at the start, Liam. How many staff have you now globally?
Honestly, we're after doubling in the last year. I think we are close to 100 now. We have our head office, our clubs in Waterford. We've got remote, not just all over Ireland, but across the States, and we've got a big office in Ahmedabad in India as well. So like when I look at all those kind of key drivers, our turnover, our customers, our staff, they've all had minimum 100% growth year in year. We've been very lucky to win some very prestigious awards like the Waterford Business Award there last quarter as well. And it's great that It's great to get that because it's kudos for the team and everybody involved. Because a lot of the times, Mary, you'll have CEOs and stuff like me on, and they're the kind of, they get all the attention and the kudos. But really, we're just the figurehead. There's so many people in the background working across, development, R&D, marketing, sales, customer engagement are doing so much good work that I'm just the result. I'm on the radios talking to you here today, but really, there's an amazing team. We're very lucky. We've got an amazing team. We've got huge ambition and hunger in the company to be the category leader in what it is that we do, and we've got some very exciting plans across the next year as well. So, I'd say watch this space when it comes to Clearcom.
Brilliant stuff. Liam Dunne, co-founder and CEO of Klearcom. And by the way, you'll easily find that Forbes article online. If you just put in a quick Google of Forbes, Klearcom even, and Liam Dunne, you'll find it quickly, and it's well worth a read. Congratulations on all you do, Liam, and thanks very much for taking my call this evening.